We are back with the Buffalonian podcast for the first true edition of betting on the Bills this season, because the schedule to start has just been an absolute nightmare with primetime games and everything kind of going crazy. But we finally have it's a Sunday 1 p.m. game, one of the few at home this season. So finally, you're at Highmark Stadium. These are hot tickets, believe it or not. The 1 o'clock starts.
These are
Everybody wants to go
super
to these.
expensive tickets.
Yeah, for a terrible Saints team rolling.
It was kind of funny when the schedule first came out. I think my dad mentioned what do you think is the most expensive game? And I was like, I think the Chiefs game is probably good. The Chiefs or the Ravens, right? Because it's a home opener. I said the Chiefs because they're really good, and that's Patrick Mahomes. Maybe the Ravens because that was the home opener, Lamar Jackson.
Right.
Or I also said heck, maybe even the Jets Week 18 because that's the last regular season home game in the stadium. And he was like, nope, it's the Saints because it's a 1 o'clock game and it's against a lesser opponent that you think could be entertaining because they could roll them and you could be maybe, hopefully, for our sake, done by the third quarter.
Yeah, right. I honestly, to your point, just about the Jets game real quick coming up, the only attraction to that, if the Bills continue on the pace they're on, if they're going to, drop a couple games, sure. But if the rest of the AFC is where they're at, realistically, that Jets game is sitting starters, getting ready for the playoffs. You're going to see Mitch Trubisky quarterbacking the team in the red helmets. It's not going to be Josh Allen. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to take the first snap and run off. So this definitely, I feel like, makes sense. It's a real, I guess what we're going to get into is how bad of a curb stomping it'll be for New Orleans, or Narlands, as some people say. I just, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I feel like with the Miami game, we were all, they're going to kill him.
I think that was pretty tame. I think weren't you 42-7?
I think I said 42-7 in the third, and then 42-21 final score because they let up in the.
Hey, at least you got 21 right.
I did end up getting 21 right, but yeah, I was a little too blinded by the hatred towards Dolphins fans and the team. But this game, I don't want to get too far ahead because I think that's just bad business. But then again, it is Spencer Rattler and the Saints, so I really don't know where to go here. I think truthfully, the Bills are going to be able to do it, but it is a hot ticket. Again, one of the final home games at Highmark Stadium at a 1 o'clock start, so it'll be a hot ticket. But Dom, before we dive into the nitty gritty, we've been kind of shooting from the cuff already, just on what we think, but. Realistically, this Saints team this season, 0-3 against the 3-0 Bills. Is there even a semblance of hope for them coming into Highmark Stadium in this matchup, or is it just going to be despair for the New Orleans Saints?
I mean, any given Sunday, they have a chance. I mean, listen.
Right. That's yeah.
Listen,
yeah.
The Bills lost to the Urban Meyer-led Jags, so in the Josh Allen prime era. So, I don't take any of this for granted, but I think I think this game could be interesting. I guess I feel like this game goes one of two ways.
Mm-hmm.
Neither way the Saints win, but either week 2 this year against the Jets, right? Just over pretty much by halftime. Bills pretty much roll in the third quarter, and then by the fourth quarter, it's just
Trubisky's in.
It's Trubisky time for the most part. And
yeah.
30? It was 30-3 for most of the game, and then they scored 30-10. Or does this game get a little interesting like the Titans game did last year? The Titans were really bad. They finished at the worst record in the league, but they came to Buffalo and were up 10-0 in the second quarter, right? New England was up 14-0 at one point also. So I think it's important for the Bills to start fast. I think you want to... Listen, Spencer Rattler, to his credit, honest to God, to Spencer Rattler's credit, has played much better than anticipated.
Oh yeah.
Now that's not saying much because they lost 40-6 last week to Seattle, but he's played pretty solid. But I think you just want to test him as much as possible. You want to take away the ground game. And the Bills have done a really good job for the most part this season of covering explosive receiving backs, right? Achane, I know he had some yards and some catches, but for the most part, they did a pretty good job. Breece Hall really didn't do anything. And then, Henry and Hill in week 1 for Baltimore, not too much. So Kamara, that's a big, check down for 5 to 6 yards. And they don't have Milano, right? Milano's been ruled out. So it's a big moment for Dorian Williams again to step up and, Terrell Bernard to continue his, continue the linear projection he's on as well.
Yeah, let's get some splash plays from TB in this game. But yeah, Milano out, that's big. Is Oliver questionable still, if I'm not mistaken. I saw the alert
Oliver
for
is
the
out.
injury report.
Oliver and
Oliver's out as
Milano
well.
are out. Epinesa and Brown are questionable.
So these young guys again going to have to step in on the front, like you said. Alvin Kamara, not something to scoff at by any means. He is that team's offense. Easy 5-yard check down, just like you said. For fantasy owners, okay, like when he's playing the Bills, it's actually not a terrible outlook for him because they might let him get a couple chunk plays in there or whatever. But I do think the Bills, if they could do what they did to Breece Hall, I know Evan Kamara is a little bit different of a running back than Breece Hall. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But if they can do something similar to the Jets, I think that's the formula for this game as well. Just make Spencer Rattler really uncomfortable very quickly. And I would love to see Greg Rousseau get some pressures in this game along with Joey Bosa. Last game was a little lackluster for them against the Dolphins. You thought with a battered offensive line, they'd be able to get some work done, but realistically didn't get too much done. And I don't know. It's not great. Not great. But Max Harrison also, he returned to practice this week, did he not? Not return to practice, but he's starting to
It's
this is
interesting
his
of
last
him
week.
because the suspended players, they get to return to meetings. Once you get 3 games into your suspension, they just can't be at practice. So Hoyt and Ogunjobi are now probably participating in meetings and all that.
Team meetings and stuff.
Harrison is weird, man. Like, I think we all kind of assumed that he had like this LCL and he was kind of like, you thought like, oh, he might be ready to go for week 1, but they just like were really conservative. And then those videos of, I think he's doing individual work because
it looks like it off to the side.
But he has a massive knee brace and he didn't look great the first day. The second day they said he looked a little bit better, but.
And it's not just a knee sleeve. That had like the joint on the
I'm
side.
A little
for
concerned.
And everything.
I'm a little concerned that this is, maybe there was more damage than we anticipated. And listen, at this point, anything that they get from him is a blessing because you thought his season was over. But I think it was a little bit of a reality check that I don't think he's going to be ready to go week 5. And I would be stunned to see him before the bye, to be honest.
That's
like, the bye is week 7. Like, I would be I would be stunned if his first game isn't the same as all the suspended players. And that even might, honest to God, the way he looked, like, it might take him a couple of months to warm up. So, definitely a little unfortunate there. I think it's going to be interesting to see Noah Oliver. Do they waste? I shouldn't say waste. That's the wrong word. But they've already spent 2 of Zion Logue's practice squad call-ups.
Do they burn another one?
I wonder, do they burn the third one or do they burn Jordan Phillips? Right? And just say, like, Jordan Phillips, like, tough. Against New Orleans, like, we could trust him to go in there, do a good job, and we don't want to burn Logue's last one. I don't really know what the answer to that question is.
Yeah, I think, honestly, you might be right on that. I would probably see them bringing up Phillips over Logue so they don't have to sign him to the actual 53-man, like at that point, they got Praters out of the way because they knew they had to. Clearly, they didn't do Logues right away because they know they didn't have to. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Jordan Phillips still out there or coming out there for this week. But defensively, and then we'll go to the offense a little bit.
Well, I will say this, sorry to cut you off, but I think it'll be interesting to see who gets called up because I think that shows how far away Ed Oliver is, right? Because you would think if they waste one on Phillips, that they wanted to save one for Logue. So maybe you know what I'm saying? Like maybe like week 5 they'll waste Logues or whatever, and maybe that.
But if they call up Logue,
I just think if Logue is called up on Sunday, I think seems to, at least to me, that they would probably have the expectation that Oliver could go
back the next week.
But I think if Phillips is called up, it's like maybe they think that he's maybe one more week away,
Yeah.
And honest to God, if he doesn't play against New England week 5, week 6 is a Monday Night Football game, and then you go into the bye. So he might be able to play the Monday Night Football game, and then you get to take pretty much 2 weeks to rest up the ankle after playing through a game for the first time through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be. I mean, you're absolutely right. It'll be interesting, but defensively, and then we'll get into the offense. Defensively, I mean, we talked about the call-ups, everything like that, what we expect to see. But what do you think really has to hit home? Who on the defense has to hit home to really snuff out this interesting Saints team, to say the least?
Yeah, I think they have to stop, again, if the Bills can start fast and stop the run and make Spencer Rattler just be a drop-back passer, I think they'll have a lot of success. This isn't a great
Mm-hmm.
New Orleans Saints offensive line. They don't have a lot of weapons. Shaheed can take the top off. Jawan Johnson has played pretty well from the tight end position, so I think that's going to be interesting to see. I mean, the Bills really haven't been threatened by the tight end position all season, and the only one that they really faced of any quality was Andrews, and they shut him down for one catch for 5 yards. Mm-hmm. So I think that will be a test. I also think it'll be a test for against Olave, because Olave, the star receiver for the Saints, like, he's been getting like 10 targets a game. So a lot of balls are going his way. Is that an opportunity for Christian Benford or Trey White to maybe get an interception, right?
It'd be nice to see from either of them.
I think if the Bills can force a couple turnovers, stop the run, heat up the pressure on Rattler, make him throw downfield, they're really good. They're good. They were really good last week again against Achane. I thought tackling him on those swing passes. They're gonna get tested on that again with Kamara. So I think that's a big key.
Yeah, I love that. I think this is a Deion Walker legacy game incoming. I think he's going to be absolutely
4 games in.
4 games in, he's going to put up quite the stat line, just destroying Spencer Rattler in the backfield. I think, you mentioned it, really shutting down the run, but he's also going to really, I think, on passing downs, make him as uncomfortable as he possibly can. We've seen the flashes of it. If any team you're going to be able to pull out all the stops and do it against, it's this Saints team, I feel like. So
should have a lot of pass rushing opportunities. That's true.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So, I think a Deion Walker big game, legacy game, perhaps could be incoming for the Bills. But offensively now, I think this is a similar game as to what we've seen the past 2 weeks. Allen's not going to have the cape on. This is going to be a big kind of everybody eats in a way of also the running back room, they're going to establish the run first. We know that's how Joe Brady operates this offense. They like to get down and dirty right away. They're going to see what they can do. I think James Cook's going to have a big game. Allen will still have his normal stat line, maybe 100, 200 yards. What would it be, like 19 for 20 or something like that, 18 for 20? Just nothing like we saw in Baltimore of week 1, because he's not needed to do that. So this is going to be, I think, a team effort more than anything. It's not going to be Allen with the cape on, but I do think James Cook, and now it's basically his running back room, what we've seen the past few weeks. The rotation has not been a thing like it was last season. Ray Davis pretty much held to absolutely nothing carries-wise, touches-wise as well. Ty Johnson getting some third down attempts, some screen passes and stuff, but it's primarily James Cook's backfield. So I would expect a big day from him. What about you?
Yeah, I think, New Orleans did a pretty good job on the run last week against Seattle, but Darnold really carved them up. I think he went 14 for 18 for 230 yards. So he was really efficient in the passing game. I think there's going to be opportunity. I'm not going to say I disagree with you, because I think the Bills' offensive line is better than the Seattle offensive line. Yeah. However, I do think, Van DeMark is going to start at right tackle. I think they're going to give Spencer Brown a week off, it seems. Oh, yeah. Hasn't practiced all week. Right. Questionable. I don't see it.
Yeah, there's no way. I don't think they.
Why risk it? Especially if a calf, those could be weird. And next thing you know,
remember Joe Burrow's calf injury? It just kept spiraling and
spiraling. Yeah, next thing you know, you're out a month, right?
Yeah.
So, I think they're going to be able to run the ball pretty effectively in this game. I just think the Bills, though, are going to be really. I think this is going to be a pretty big Josh Allen game, to be honest.
Okay.
At least through the first 3 quarters. Obviously, I don't know if he'll put up I don't know if he'll put up the raw numbers. If you look at the box score, it goes 350 yards or whatever. But I think he'll be like what Darnold was. I think he'll be high 70s completion percentage, a lot of yards per attempt, right? A couple of scores. I think this could be a big clear game. He finally looked good against the Dolphins. Maybe kind of took him a couple weeks to recover from that actual the ankle injury of some actual game feels.
Yeah.
JSN had almost had 100 yards against them last week for Seattle. So I think this is going to be Shakir's 2025 breakout game. I think he's going to go for 80 yards and a score.
I like it. Especially, the only thing I like that you're saying down the field, because I mean, as a Josh Allen fantasy owner, I would love to see him throw down the field quite a bit, But they've been dinking and dunking the past couple weeks, and to a lot of fans, frustration with it. I don't really get it. They're winning football games. Whatever way they win it, they win it. That's just how it is. But it'll be interesting to see, because I think both are solid points of attack for them, because we've seen James Cook slither out of things this season. He's a shifty guy, and then Allen, of course, can just dot anything up. I hope we see a Deion Walker and Shakir legacy game. I hope they're in tandem together and doing all that. That'd be absolutely electric for the vibes in week 4. Just a couple weeks out from the bye week. But now we've talked offense, defense. Is there just a player, an X factor that the Bills have that's going to be able to just annihilate this team, whether it be offense or defense? Is it Shakir? Is it Walker? Is it Allen? Is it Cook? Who do you have?
Yeah, well, I think an X factor might just be travel, right? New Orleans had to go to Seattle, and now they're coming to Buffalo. I know
It's
it's
the
a
farthest distance you
week,
can
but
travel.
I know they probably went back to New Orleans, but still, that's a lot of travel, right? So I don't think they'll have great legs, and especially it's a 1 p.m. kickoff too as well. That Seattle game was 4:25, so yeah, I think travel could play a little element in favor of the Bills. You know, they had to. Well, but let's put it this way: they have the rest advantage, right? They've been at home for 10 days, and their last game was at home. So I think that could be a factor. But talking about a player X factor, I think it's gonna be Cole Bishop. I think he struggled in week 1, but I think the last 2 weeks he's put together 2 solid games in a row, and I don't think they need him to do anything unbelievable. I just think that he needs to continue to just be solid back there and continue to grow. And I think, again, with the back, with Kamara coming out of the backfield, Juwan Johnson being a big target, Shaheed being a deep threat, I think it puts some stress at your safeties. And I think Cole Bishop, I think he can make a big play and get his first interception of the year. That might be his first pick of this. I gotta look that up. I think that would be his first pick of his career. I'd be surprised if he had.
I can't remember if he's had one or not.
Well, I just remember he should have had one in the AFC Championship game, but he made the Xavier Worthy one where it was holding and then that was a weird play. That was a really annoying play. Yeah, he's never had an interception. First interception. Book that one down too. First pick for Cole Bishop.
First career interception. Okay, I like it.
Thank you.
I like it. Honestly, it's a little different than what I said, game script wise was going to happen just for the offense. But Keon Coleman after the Ravens game, he had a big play or 2 in the Jets game, and really last week he was silent. Nothing really spectacular from him. Going with your game script a little bit here, I do think if they do open it up down the field, he is going to be the team's biggest X factor. He's just a big-bodied wide receiver. He's able to go up for the contested catch. He's also a great end zone target for Allen. I think a big week from Keon Coleman could be possible, especially if the pass is humming, right? If the pass game's humming, if they're not all dialed in on the run. Because here's the thing: if Joe Brady knows the run's going to work and they're not adjusting to it, just like that Dallas game, he's just going to run it up their throat the entire time. So we'll have to just wait and see what the game's actually showing. But I do think Keon Coleman can have a big game. It was between him or Dalton Kincaid, because Kincaid already this season has
his numbers look really good.
Yes. So it's between Keon Coleman and Kincaid. Kincaid though, really, really being everything of what Bills Mafia and the coaching staff wanted him to be. He got bigger in the offseason. Look at what he's been able to do. And even Keon Coleman, just the change from last season, you heard all about it the entire offseason. A different kid, different player, different guy. I mean, you're seeing it. So I think he's going to have a big game this week. He could be a big X factor for the Bills in the receiving game if that's what they end up going with. But I think it's time, Dom. I think it's time for the predictions. Is it not? Is there anything else you want to get off your chest before we get to the
I would say if I had to pick an MVP, it would be Shakir. I just think Shakir's going to have a big game.
Yeah. I would say Cook would be my MVP, just going with my game script. But, what are you going to do? We'll see. I think this game's just, it's not a nothing burger, but it's tough to even predict anything because it's just, I feel like they could do anything. You know what I'm saying? It's not finite by any means. They could do whatever they want to the Saints. I feel like they could have their way with them. So it's interesting to have to sit here and think about what they could possibly do, because I feel like the possibilities are endless. But now, going to score predictions, I mean, you know what? Let's just say I'm going to run it back. Okay, 42-7 in the third. And and then the Bills just absolutely obliterate them. Here. And I think it's 42-14 though to end.
Oh wow! Whoa!
Yeah, we're changing it up here.
Changing it
up. This is. I think this is the game where that actually happens. I think they absolutely obliterate them. But What do you think? How do you feel?
Yeah, I think last week I kind of predicted that it probably would be a more competitive game than the spread.
Mm-hmm.
This week it's weird. I still kind of feel a little bit like this. I feel a little bit like it could be like the Tennessee game where they start slow because I feel like the Bills usually aren't the greatest after having a long rest off team. Like it takes them a quarter to get their legs. But
Yeah.
I just think
In general, I feel like they start slower
I
than
just
other
think New
teams.
Orleans is so bad, man. New Orleans is so bad, I think, and it's in Buffalo. New Orleans probably just wants to go home. Had the long trip to Seattle to travel. I also think so far the Bills have started most of the games off, at least offensively, pretty well. I think special teams is going to be really interesting, because
Mm-hmm.
the Saints are one of the worst special teams units in the league. They gave a touchdown. That's another bold prediction. I have 3 bold predictions. Shakir goes for 80 yards and a touchdown. First career interception for Cole Bishop, and the Bills get a special teams touchdown. And the Bills are going to win 38-10.
Okay. I like it. I like it a lot. I'll have to look at the odds on a Cole Bishop interception, like player to record interception, see what he's at. Could be a moneymaker. I know you can't. I know you can't with work, but I mean, for anybody listening out there, if you like it, you like it. That's all I got to say. But that's going to do it for this edition of the Buffalonian Podcasts. Betting on the Bills, the first official edition of it. We'll have more throughout the season, of course. These short weeks are going to get a little interesting. There's another Thursday night game against the Texans at one point, and then Monday Night Football. So we'll see when we're going to release all that. But again, that's going to do it. I'm Joe Cali. As always, I'm joined by none other than Dom Lawson. Dom, how do we always end these, buddy?
Go Bills, baby.
Go Bills.